I'm going to start straight off by admitting that I really like this game. It's so undeniably beautiful in its visuals and sound design. It has a fantastic habit of making you feel, and as much as I adore sharing my first experience with my amazing community on stream, I feel that I may have felt the emotions even stronger if I had played it on my own. The game never lets up on its incredibly thick atmosphere and scatters little bits of exposition and world building throughout the world. Sometimes this can be a tad confusing when suddenly you're moving slower and it takes you a while to realise that your character is moving in a predetermined cutscene, especially when during the prologue there are moments where you do have control of the character that come as a surprise. The movement and really the game as a whole is incredibly smooth and satisfying, but the game is certainly not without fault. I do feel that the number of abilities and the way that the game expects you to use them so quickly and seamlessly towards the end is bordering on the unreasonable and definitely steps into silly territory for me. I think this is the first game I've played on stream that I've actually had to take breaks from because my hands were hurting. I also feel that the new abilities, at least in my playthrough, aren't spaced particularly evenly, as there were times of incredibly fast growth between times of making almost no character progress whatsoever. The only thing that I could say to counterpoint this though is that I did find it incredibly satisfying that I was pretty much always either progressing the character or the story, but rarely both at the same time. The only time that it was really a problem was when I achieved too many abilities in a short period of time and I got slightly overwhelmed. I do feel that although the game does an absolutely stellar job of making you feel the feels, I don't think it does an amazing job of making you think the thinks. Now, I know that's a turn of phrase, but let me explain. I feel that the narrative and the story are trying so hard to make you feel emotions that it forgot to tell a coherent story. If you put a gun to my head and ask me to explain the story now that I've completed the game, I'm pretty sure I'm getting shot. The narrative is unbelievably vague to a fault, to the point that if you took the emotion out of it, there is almost nothing left except the gameplay. I feel that emotionally this game has a similar energy to Journey, but Journey tells its narrative only by visuals and sound, has very little in terms of story, and the experience is about the journey, which is the whole point of the game. Ori and the Blind Forest is different in that it is trying to tell a somewhat coherent story with exposition and world building, and yet unfortunately fails to do so, at least in my opinion. Does that mean that you shouldn't play it though? Unequivocally, no. Although the narrative wilts under the glare of the side of my brain that appreciates logic, sense and consciousness, it speaks profoundly to the other side of my brain that responds to emotions, subconscious and the abstract. Never did I think I could die so many times in a game and still enjoy almost every single moment. Even though I would normally find myself getting frustrated, the incredible emotion evoked by the game, especially during the escape sequences, compelled me to proceed, gradually getting better until eventually I succeeded. Ultimately, although the game does appear to attempt to provide a story that does make some sense, it turns out that it doesn't matter. What matters is the more than solid gameplay, the incredible sound and visuals, and the heaps and heaps of emotion the game provides and the meaning you can glean from them. Like the aforementioned other title, it really doesn't matter about the destination, it's about the journey. It's one I'm glad I've walked with all of you, and I definitely recommend you taking your own voyage by playing Ori and the Blind Forest.